Well, welcome to day 37 of our 40-day prayer journey. Yes, I am still working on content. In fact, I'm probably going to be working on content for the next few days, and this is just simple for us to hit record and spend a little bit of time. I want to take a slight deviation from our chapter today. Today's was on prayer contracts, and the big idea today was agreeing with someone in prayer is like getting your prayer notarized. That was the big idea. It was a great chapter, but I've had some stirring conversations along this 40-day prayer journey, and one of the conversations I had was on discerning the voice of God. And I actually am praying about something specific in a 48-hour window. Do I take a speaking engagement or do I not take a speaking engagement? And I just feel like I had so much on my plate, and this one was really on my heart, and I wanted to do it, but sometimes I'm guilty of overcommitting, and you might feel that way sometimes too, and so I didn't know if I should do it. And so I said, let me pray about it. And in praying about it, I felt like God was stirring my heart, and it made me think of a conversation I had last week with a young guy who said, how do you know if it's God? If you were praying about something specifically, how do you know it's not you, and how do you know it's God? And I want to give you a few thoughts on that right now, a couple that I shared with him and a couple that I've been just thinking about over the last 48 hours. Here's thought number one. Just because you're praying about it right now doesn't mean God gives you an immediate answer. Happens so often. In fact, that's what the basis of my conversation with him was about, is I was praying about clarity in something specific a couple weeks ago, and I just felt like God was silent on the matter. And I'm praying about it, and I'm praying about it, nothing. Well, fast forward a little while later, maybe a week or two later, I'm driving, and a song is playing in the background, and I'm just sitting there in the moment quiet, and I felt that still small voice whisper in my heart, a clear answer to what I was thinking about a week or so before. And it was one of those sync moments where it just lines up. You're like, oh, that's the answer. It's kind of like when you are trying to think about something and you can't think of it. It's on the tip of your tongue, or you can't think of it. You go throughout the day. All of a sudden, 2 days later, it just hits you. And it's like an immediate connection. Oh, there it is. It's kind of like that, dropped right into my heart. And he said, well, how do you know that's not you thinking of that? And what I shared with him, so many times it is something I either wouldn't tell myself or couldn't tell myself. If I'm feeling convicted in the moment, it's something that I wouldn't say because I'm trying to go the other direction sometimes. And it's this stirring in my heart of something I wouldn't say in that moment, but that ends up being right in that moment. I'm also looking forward based on what I've learned in the past. I'm looking at these situations, and I'm looking at the things I'm praying for based on the way that God has delivered in the past. And then there's things that I couldn't say to myself. I couldn't know what was going to happen. I couldn't line things up. And so that's how I test that discernment of that small voice in my heart. Or you could argue sometimes in my head, because as a thought would come, you just know it's a God thought. And that is something we talked about in one of our 40 days. So that's number one. That's the number one thing that I think about, is I don't get an immediate answer, and sometimes it lines up. Sometimes I get a repeating something in my heart. It repeats over and over again, and that's how this was. I was thinking if I was going to preach the sermon, and I knew the topic title, and I knew the date, and I knew all those things, and I just looked at everything I have on the schedule, and I thought, I don't know if I could do this. I don't even have anything written for this. Prayed about it. A little while later, prayed about it again. It's kind of sticking with me, so I prayed about it again. And then again, right in the small voice. I'll actually tell you the topic was the Star of Bethlehem, was Magi. We're coming up on Christmas season. And that still small voice said, the star still shines. The star still shines. And it was one of those things that when it came to me, it gripped me. And I thought, oh, the star still shines. And then all of a sudden the next thought came, and then the next thought came, and then the next thought came. And before you know it, I had an entire introduction, and then the next thought came, and I thought, oh, that's good. Let me put that, I should be doing this. God has something to say, and he wants to use me to say it, so I need to be obedient. So that's that logical progression. It gripped me, so it's going to grip someone else. So that was a yes for me. In my spirit, that was a yes, this is what you should do. It was a discernment on taking a step and making a decision. And you don't always get everything. You get little teeny pieces at a time. And sometimes you get something that's much later than when you asked for it. But God's timing is always the right timing. Those are just some of the thoughts. I think I had 2 or 3 more just bouncing around in my brain. But I don't want these things to go extremely long on our days. But I want to wrap up with 3 ways as you're in your prayer challenge. Mine's coming, 40 days is coming to an end. 3 ways that God speaks to us. 1 is he speaks through that still small voice, the one I just was talking about, that really grips us and that leads us along the way. 2 is he speaks through our circle, the people who are around us. A lot of times I won't have discernment on something in the moment, but my wife Lindsay will have discernment on it, or my location pastor Landon will have discernment on it, or our senior pastor, Pastor Mark, will have discernment on it, or my business partner Kevin will have discernment on it. I'm surrounded by great people who speak into my life, and God will use those people there to speak to you. So the still small voice, the people around you, and then what's so important, as we've talked about many times, the pattern of being in the Word. God will use what you are reading to speak to you. Something will jump out off the page, and it will sync right up with what you're praying for in this season. Just some thoughts as we were going today, a little audible, little Peyton Manning Omaha, because day 37, I want it to be about you discerning what God is saying to you. I'll see you tomorrow for day 38.